So let's get to the late afternoon games, and we agree on everything so far. The Dolphins at the Broncos. There's no line on this game because Drew Lock may not play. He has a rib injury. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to be on Miami no matter what. If Brett Rippon plays in place of Drew Lock, I'm not sure that's such a massive downgrade at this point with the way Lock has been playing of late. Obviously, Lock has a better arm and more upside for the future, but he just threw 4 picks against the Raiders and truly looked terrible. I know he was hurt for a good chunk of that game as well. He did not look comfortable on the field after that. But I just think the Dolphins are significantly better than the Broncos. Their defense is great. Their secondary is playing so well. Their coaching is amazing. I mean, Brian Flores is probably a top 5 coach in the NFL already, and we're just barely halfway through his second season in charge. They're on a massive winning streak. I think 5 games possibly. So that's pretty good too. And I, as much as I like the Broncos, the personnel they have, I think Vic Fangio is a solid coach. I think he's been given so much trouble by lack of good quarterback play and injuries. I hope he sticks around in Denver for one more go, and hopefully they'll be healthy. But I'm gonna be on the Dolphins here unless this line is like ridiculous, which I don't imagine it will be, because even though the public's kind of catching up to the Dolphins now, and the bookmakers are a little bit too, I still think they're lagging behind in just how good and how solid this defense really is.
Yeah, I think so too. They're definitely not extremely underrated anymore, but they are still a little bit underrated. I don't think people realize how good of a coach Brian Flores is, and how good this defense is, and how good the special teams are. Like, it seems like they make plays like on defensive special teams, multiple plays like every single week, and we saw that again with the Chargers. Drew Lock has been so bad. He just looks worse and worse each week, except for that half that half against the Chargers where he came back. But yeah, he just keeps getting worse, and I really can't see the Broncos doing anything like Drew Lock either being injured, like playing hurt, or Brett Rippon with virtually no NFL experience going against Brian Flores. Like, that just seems like Flores would just confuse Brett Rippon, and then he'll just have a lot of turnovers. Not a huge fan of betting Tua against Vic Fangio either. Like, we have a great defensive minded coach against a rookie quarterback making his 4th start. So like, under normal circumstances, I'd be like, okay, maybe the Broncos could provide some value, but it's like the same thing on the other side. And meanwhile, Denver is once again missing its entire starting defensive line last week, so they couldn't stop Josh Jacobs at all. Salvon Ahmed looks pretty good as a replacement for Myles Gaskin. So I think the Dolphins can run the ball. I don't think they'll have a great offensive output, considering that Denver has both of its starting corners again. But I think the Dolphins should be able to win this game. I assume if Drew Lock plays, I think this line would be like 3 or 3.5. I still like the Dolphins. If it's Rippon, this might be as high as like 6.5 or 7. And even then, like, I like the Dolphins. I think they'll just shut down Rippon, and I don't see Denver scoring at all if Rippon plays.
Yeah, well, just remember how Rippon did against the Jets. Like, he put up a lot of points early, but then late in the game, he made a bunch of bad throws that resulted in turnovers and almost played the Broncos out of that game against the Jets and Adam Gase on a short week. So I don't have faith that he will do well against Brian Flores either. So even if the line gets up to 6.5, 7, I will be on Miami as well. I just want to make one more note about the Dolphins backfield. They just keep randomly getting college running backs who went to Washington, and then they turn out to be good, with between Gaskin, who wasn't on any of our radars as a potential starter coming into the year, though he was a 7th round pick a couple years ago and barely ever fumbled in college. And now Salvon Ahmed comes in. He went to Washington. I think he might have backed up Gaskin or worked in tandem with him. And now, hey, they've got a decent 1-2 punch when both are back and healthy. So I'll be interested to see how they do moving forward.
Yeah, me too. Although I think they might just draft a running back. Those guys have done well, but they're not like great backs. There's some really good running backs in the 2021 class. So we have some questions about the weather issue. I just looked a quick peek at the weather, and it says it's going to be 45 in Denver. So like not too bad. It's not going to snow or anything. So it should be fine. And then this question: when was the last time Denver had a good quarterback besides Peyton Manning? Obviously John Elway, but Jake Plummer took them to the AFC Championship in 2005, I believe. So like Plummer had some good years. He wasn't great, but he had some good years. But yeah, John Elway is definitely the answer.